Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Hugh Freeze, the Auburn Tigers land another massive commitment coming out of this 2026 class as four-star wide receiver Devin Carter commits to this Auburn program. The one thing that jumps out to me right away is that Hugh Freeze and Auburn are building a special class in 2026. And I think for a lot of Auburn fans, the next couple of months are going to be really fun to track because there's a lot of momentum that's building on the recruiting trail. Now, you look at Devin Carter, we're going to get into what he brings to Auburn, but I want to start with this. It's no secret that, and I think a lot of Auburn fans would agree with this, that the first 2 years of the Hugh Freeze tenure haven't been sunshine and rainbows on the football field. But one thing that stands out to me is that these kids at the high school ranks and these players in the transfer portal, they look at Hugh Freeze and what he's doing at Auburn, and they are buying into what he's building. And what kind of I think should be exciting for the Auburn fans to think about is, hey, the results and success have not necessarily popped on the football field, but these kids are still believing in Hugh Freeze. What happens when Hugh Freeze, I think, inevitably starts winning at a higher level? Because you look at what he's doing. I mean, from a roster construction standpoint, he is building a roster that can compete at the highest level of the SEC. There's zero doubt in my mind in terms of what he's doing on the high school trail, in terms of what he's doing in the transfer portal. Given time, it's going to pop for Hugh Freeze. What happens then when Hugh Freeze starts winning on the football field? Because we're already crushing the recruiting trail. What happens when we're winning more games, when we're winning 9, 10 plus games, competing for SEC championships and college football playoff spots? That's what stands out to me first. I think secondly, this is sneaky becoming a destination spot for wide receivers. And I think Marcus Davis is doing a phenomenal job building just a dynamic, talented wide receiver room. Now, why is that important to note? One, yeah, it's really, really important to have difference makers at the wide receiver spot. You look at what Jeremiah Smith or what Cam Coleman meant to Auburn or Ryan Williams at Alabama. You got difference makers on the outside. It's pretty easy to score some touchdowns. But I think more importantly, it creates a little bit of a cycle. Why did Deuce Knight look at Auburn and flip his commitment? Yeah, it probably had a little something to do with knowing he's going to have Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson, Bryce Kane, Malcolm Simmons to throw the football to. And so as you continue to recruit wide receivers better, you're probably going to attract better quarterbacks, and quite frankly, vice versa. As you start recruiting quarterbacks better, you're going to attract wide receivers because they want to go catch footballs from really good quarterbacks. That cycle that we've seen Ohio State have for really the last 10 years, to me, it seems to be taking place at Auburn. And I think lastly, again, this 2026 class, it's early right now, but it's starting to become, or at least look like, and take early form as a really special class for Hugh Freeze, this Auburn program in the 2026 cycle. Now, I want to get into Devin Carter, who I think is a really intriguing prospect that I had to do a little bit of research on before I made this episode. Before we get into it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys and to the Auburn fans, many of which who've been rocking with the fellas for really the last 2 years now, ever since Hugh Freeze has taken over this program. It's been one of the more exciting teams to talk about in the offseason due to what Hugh Freeze is doing on the recruiting trail, doing in the transfer portal. I've had a blast breaking it all down. Can't thank you guys enough for rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. Without further ado, let's get into Devin Carter. Now, where you start with Devin Carter is one, the recruiting services. It's kind of interesting. You look at 24/7 Sports, 123rd nationally, which they ain't good football player. But then you look at some of the other services on three rivals, ESPN, those services has them pretty comfortably as a top 50 player nationally. And so there are some people in this landscape, or I guess in this scene, in the recruiting scene, you might say, that really think this kid can be a difference maker when he gets to the college football level. Now, you dive into Devin Carter as the football player. We're going to turn on a little bit of the film. The first thing that just very clearly sticks out is the long speed, the ability to win vertically down the field. I don't have any track times to recite to you guys. I don't need any track times to turn on Devin Carter and say this kid can burn vertically. Now, I think the second thing that stands out is the ball tracking ability. And it's one thing to be really, really fast and be able to win vertically down the field. It's a whole nother thing to say, hey, can you run really fast vertically down the field? And then when that football is in the air, can you go make a play on it? We've seen a lot of talented wide receivers who are big, fast, can separate, just not be able to play the football in the air. Devin Carter, although not the biggest frame, one, deals with physicality and contact really well at the catch point, and then secondly, just feels so comfortable going and tracking footballs in that deeper third. And I think lastly, I think the movement skills are good. Now, you don't really get to see the movement skills and the route running all that much because he's kind of, as of right now, which is all not all that rare. You're talking a young wide receiver. Right now, he's kind of just a one-trick pony vertically down the field. But when you do see him get yards after the catch opportunities, you do see the juice. You see the fluid movement. You see the ability to change direction. Now you're saying, hey, can we translate those movement skills into you being a really clean route runner that can do a little bit more than just attack the deeper third vertically? I think it's there for Devin Carter. Turn it on the film. We'll just do kind of a quick little run through again. What first steps out or stands out, I should say, is just what he can do working vertically down the field. He's going to run right by defensive backs. And again, just feels so comfortable tracking the football. And that's something that really stands out. Again, if you want to leave Devin Carter like alone on, he's going to run right by you. And again, very comfortable tracking the football, making a play on it, doesn't have to lose his balance, doesn't fall on the ground, seems very comfortable making plays down the field. Again, right now, when you turn it on, this is what I mean by like, hey, we're going to deal with some contact here. We can run this right by the defensive back. We got to go make a play and work through some contact. He's not the biggest wide receiver, but he can certainly battle at the catch point and make plays. The thing that stands out is right now he seems to be a little bit of a one-dimensional wide receiver that just wants to work vertically down the field. But there are times when you watch him and say, well, he does seem like a really smooth mover. There seems to be more that he can add to his game as a wide receiver. I think this is a really intriguing get. You just want to stockpile these kids in the room, if we're being right on. I mean, there you see like kind of the acceleration and twitchiness. We're doing a little stock block here, and then we're going to get out, and we're going to separate. And you see the twitch. It's not just long speed. Now it's, can we translate that and kind of become an all-around really, really solid wide receiver? That's probably what you're looking for the most. Now, you get into Auburn's class in 2026. It's going to be a top 6 class in the country now with the Devin Carter commitment. What stands out to me is, one, doing a really good job in the state of Georgia, doing a really good job in the state of Alabama. You can tell that Auburn is wrestling away and kind of grabbing some momentum on the recruiting trail in the state of Alabama, which is really, really important. And I think secondly, it just seems like there's so much buzz and so much juice around this Auburn program in the 2026 class. I think this can be a class that Auburn finishes as a top 3 class in the country. Now, if you do that, and then you've stacked some really good classes the last couple of years, and then you continue to be a top 10 team in the transfer portal, that to me is the recipe. Like top 3, top 5 recruiting class, top 10 transfer portal class. You can marry the two together. That's how you put out rosters that are, in my opinion, SEC championship, national championship caliber. That seems to be what Auburn's doing. We'll sign out there. I'm going to get the board ready for Auburn fans. I got to do a little bit more work on the 2026. We're kind of doing that transition between, all right, transfer portal, drying up a little bit. Now time to kind of focus in on the recruiting trail. So we'll have some targets and talk about more guys as we kind of go through the month of January. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.